वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा।
वाज खालसा वाज फतेह जी। ठीक हो जी?
Thank you for joining us, Baji. So those people who are just coming in now, as you know, we are going to be discussing the situation regarding the Sikh community in Afghanistan. There was obviously a terror attack last month. It would be interesting to know, everybody who's joining, if you could tell us where you're from. We'd love to know where the Sangat is from today. We've tried to do it at a time that's kind of convenient for mainly the UK and North America, but in Europe as well, and some parts of Asia as well. We're hoping, we can get Sangat from all over the world today. So for Sangat watching at home, my name is Pritpal Singh. I'm a press officer with the Sikh Press Association. The Sikh Press Association has been set up to be the voice of the Sangat in the media, to represent Sikhs on public affairs in the media, Sikh representation in the media, and also to challenge poor representations of Sikh, or inaccurate representations of Sikhs and Sikh issues in the media as well. And I'm joined today by a documentary maker and author, Pritpal Singh. Pritpal Singh Baji, I've seen some of your work, some of your videos, some of your documentaries. I've read some of your work as well. But would you like to also give a bit of a background about what it is that you do, and your affiliation with the Afghan Sikh community?
Well, I'm a Sikh from Afghanistan originally. I moved in the mid-90s to the Netherlands. I came in Europe as a refugee, and where in 2001, once I became a Dutch citizen, I moved to the UK because I had a family living in the UK. So I want to be close to my family. As a member of European Union, before Brexit happened, you can easily move anywhere in the European Union. So I joined my family here in the UK. I've been living in Britain for the last 19 years. So I came here 2001. And as I'm an Afghan Sikh, and prior to going back to Afghanistan in 2012, there was nothing on, let's say, on internet, like concrete information about my community. I always struggled, let's say 15 years ago when the internet was quite new, there was so much misinformation, about Afghan Sikh community. People saying, oh, these Sikhs, they're migrants from Delhi, they moved to Kabul to do business in 1980s, for example. But I said, that's incorrect. Like all my parents, my grandparents, going so many generations, I don't even have no count for it, man. We all from Afghanistan. Not only just one place. We live in Kabul. We live in all different provinces, in Kandahar, Ghazni, Helmand, Orazgan, Paktia, Laghman, Parwan. You name it, Khost. We live in different provinces of Afghanistan. So I thought, let's do something, put something concrete so people can see it and watch it and read it. And I was thinking about that for a long time. And in 2012, I decided I'm going to go and make a documentary. I don't have any background in media or journalism. I simply want to tell my story to the world, And this wasn't done anything beforehand. So I just went to Afghanistan. I hired a camera and a cameraman in there and locally. And I traveled to different provinces and filmed all the gurdwara or the mandirs, and made a story. It came back. It on YouTube. It was aired on Sangha television initially, and then we started from there.
Great. So we will get back. We will get onto the topic of the history of Sikhs in Afghanistan a little bit later in this interview as well. But for the time being, we just want to focus on the actual attack that took place. So there were 3 consecutive days of attacks at the end of March, 24th, 25th, and 26th. And basically, what we now know is that there was a group of gunmen who stormed into Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Gurdwara in Kabul, and killed 25 people who were there at the time. Obviously, we were getting the news in the morning through some of the news wires. We spoke to yourself on the scene, and you had some people very close to some people who were present there as well in your contacts. So could you give us an update on the situation? I mean, we heard that there was, so after these 3 days of attacks, there was then an ultimatum issued by Islamic State, who took responsibility for the attack. And they gave an ultimatum telling the Afghan Sikh community to leave the country or there will be more of these attacks. The second attack, of course, was at the funeral, the Antam Sanskar of the victims of the attack. And on the third day, Sri Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji Gurdwara was once again attacked with a bomb. But fortunately, on the second 2 days, there were no victims, no fatalities.
It was not actually at the Gurdwara, but was the cremation ground.
Okay, right, sure.
Cremation
So
ground.
in the same complex?
No, it's a couple of kilometers away, miles away.
Oh, right. Okay, I see.
Yeah. We have, in the whole of Kabul, we have one cremation ground. It's Kalacha, very old. It was a private property of Diwan Naranjan Das, who was a finance minister during the King Aman Allah Khan period in 1990s. So he donated the property to Afghan Hindu and Sikh community so we can do our cremation. It's very old, been there for over 200 years, but he donated to the community in around 1990s.
Right, great. So following on from that, those 3 days of attacks, we then learned that the Afghan Sikh, the Afghan Sikh community was seeking asylum in various places over the world. So what is the status of those asylum applications? Are we aware of any of the number of families that there are being located or have been located?
Well, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 lockdown everywhere in the world, all the airspaces, all the embassies, they are closed. The people at the moment, they're just stuck in different parts of Afghanistan, and mostly they're in Gurdwara Sahib. Most of them is more secure, and luckily, the Kabul Afghan government, they have provided extra security, so there's no more further attack at the moment. So that's quite commendable job by the Afghan government. But yeah, what is happening? People are so scared now because after the fall of Taliban, for example, there was a hope in Afghanistan when the Karzai administration came in 2001, and there was a big hope. Okay, Americans are here, NATO's are here. We're gonna rebuild the country. Many of the Afghan Sikhs who are living in neighboring India, for example, who are quite poor, they started coming back to Afghanistan. At least the men, to do the businesses and send the money back to their families in India, for example. So there was quite hope, but the second part of the Karzai administration thing went really downhill. The violence was escalated. Taliban gained an upper hand. And then during the Obama administration, there was a lot of American troops withdrawal happened. Unfortunately, during the current president Ashraf Ghani time, situation got even worse. But people still who can live, they were living, that's fine. But the big blow was a 2018 attack in Jalalabad, where all the leadership of Afghan Sikhs and Hindus were killed, including my friend Ravil Singh. Ravil Singh, he helped me immensely when I went to Afghanistan with my filming. He was the deputy head of Afghan Hindu and Sikh Council. Although the Avtar Singh Khalsa was a former senator in Afghanistan, and he was standing as an MP in the election at that time. He was quite symbolic figure of Avtar Singh Khalsa, whereas Ravil Singh, he was very active. He was very active in social media. He was very active in mainstream Afghan media. So if there was any interviews on press, he was always there. He was the face of the Afghan Sikh community. So when he was dead, he was killed. There was a big shock. Many families, they fled at that time. Many families, they fled. And many of them, to be honest, are currently in India. And they are asking help through the World Sikh Organization of Canada and Mandeep Singh Pulwar Foundation to get them, hopefully, to Canada. That's they're waiting for. But I do know that many other countries, the Sikhs organization in all these countries, they're trying to help these community in any effort they can. I mean, we have the lobby group in Australia, for example. They're trying to do something for us. And then we have so many Sikh organizations in the United States, in Canada. They're trying to help. I'm afraid in Europe, although the Sikhs are quite large in population, for example, in the UK, but if you look at the conservative government, or let's say not so friendly towards migrants, all these governments across Europe in last 5 to 6 years, I wouldn't call it a right-wing government, but in all these many countries in Western Europe are not very friendly towards migrants and immigration. Um, but I personally have quite a high hope for in Canada because it's a quite liberal. We got a liberal government there, and the Sikh lobby group is very strong there, and we got so many MPs there. And to be very honest, the community of Afghanistan Sikhs, our population, Hindus and Sikh population, was before the conflict about 100 to 130, 40,000 maximum. Out of which were 60 to 65% Sikhs, the rest were Hindus. Most of us are now outside Afghanistan. We live all over the world. And currently, the people who are left behind, just 1,000, less than 1,000, about 800 at the moment. So we want Sangha to help us to campaign to get these people out of safety. And it'll be a fantastic achievement if they can somehow come to a secure country such as Canada, in my opinion, or any other country who can help them,
Yeah. So obviously there were these attacks, and you mentioned Jalalabad as well in 2018. So could you kind of give me a background in terms of the kind of hardships, the kind of struggles that Afghan Sikhs and Hindus, obviously it's a small community, so what kind of struggles they faced on a day-to-day basis?
Before the conflict, the situation was very nice for us, the community we lived where. We had a very cordial relation with all our brothers, all the ethnic groups of Afghanistan, be it Hazara, Pashtun, Uzbek, Turkmen, Ayman, including Sikhs and Hindus. We lived in very good, we had no problem at all. But with the war, with the violence, with the conflict, with the poverty, things got difficult. We had issues of even lately, like performing our final rites at the in Kalacha, which is the cremation rites. For example, in Kalacha, if you can see in the Mission of Afghanistan documentary, in past before the conflict, the cremation ground is in, let's say, a bit of like a rural area outside the main city of Kabul, right? So when you burn the dead bodies, there was a smoke and bad smell, but there was nobody around it. Now, since last 10, 15 years, the population of Kabul has grown quite dramatically because many of the refugees who are in neighboring countries, for example, Iran and Pakistan, they've been repatriated back to Afghanistan in millions, simply because the neighboring countries said, "Oh, you got now a democratic government, and the US and the NATO are there, and so you go back." So what's happening, for example, now where we have a cremation ground in Kalacha, many of the houses are building nearby, and those people, they object of doing cremation there. So it has often, people when they go, they've been harassed, they've been, people throw stone at them, for example. And then what our community did in the past, they've asked the government and the police to intervene, law enforcement, to help them when they go to do cremation. That's one aspect. Children who go to school, they can't go to a normal school because they face the problems of bullying. Because we as a Sikh, we have a patka, we have a pagdi, and we stand out. So that is a quite issue of children going to a normal mainstream primary or secondary school. So this is lately. Before the conflict was fine. Like before 90s, we had many doctors, engineers, you name it, and like any other country, people were free to go to participate in education, higher education, universities. Everything was fine. But lately it's been very difficult, or say from past 20 years, been very difficult. And then people have their own, for example, the properties. The properties have been illegally occupied by some of the warlords who came back into power. All these warlords, they're corrupt. They look for themselves, not for the country, in my opinion. So many of the properties were illegally occupied. And the disputes can go on for years and years to resolve them. So I can go on about these things. I can go on about these things.
But it seems like the kind of changing regime has had like a knock-on effect, so that tyrants coming into power has had an effect on the general population, or becoming a bit more hostile as well to Sikhs and Hindus, and I see many other immigrant groups or ethnic groups.
Absolutely, but it's not. That's quite right. But again, the extremist groups, for example, or let's say the regional powers, they want to play a role in Afghanistan for their own gain. So if you look in past maybe 20, 25 years, the Kabul attack this year, 2018, Jalalabad attack was the main big thing, like main big loss of human life of Afghan Hindu Sikh community. Yes, there have been instances, people being shot here and there, in different parts of the country and being killed, but it never happened at that large scale. The last time something happened was in 1988, long time ago, was on the Vaisakhi Day, 13th of April, 1988. The terrorists attacked the Jalalabad Gurdwara, where about 13 to 14 Sikhs were killed, and 4 Muslim security guards were killed as well at that time. So that was the main loss of life. And then the following year, 1989, when the Mujahideen attacked Jalalabad city because they want to get in power, the Soviets were withdrawing at that time. The whole Jalalabad was bombarded for 6 months. So the rockets of flying and landing up all across Jalalabad, and there we had about 102 people, Sikhs, were killed in the course of 6 months in Jalalabad. So these 3, 4 are the main, let's say, instances of the loss of life on a major scale in Afghanistan. But what is happening now, what I see now, these Islamic State of Khorasan, for example, I don't know who support them. They have the agenda to eliminate the Sikh and Hindu community from Afghanistan forever, and it looks like, unfortunately, they're going to succeed, because after this attack, the community feels, no, that's it, bus, finish, this is the end. In Jalalabad attack, the men were killed, but now we had women, children, elderly, and this is very shocking.
Right,
really shocking.
Right. And in terms of the American involvement in Afghanistan as well, I've been reading that America and Britain as well is retreating from Afghanistan. Is that a positive step, or is that something you welcome, or is that something that you would rather they stay?
Personally, in my personal opinion, the longer they stay, the better it is. But that's what I thought when they came into Afghanistan. When in 2001, I was living in the UK. The September 11 happened, and then I had a hunch that now something's going to happen in Afghanistan. And when the American commandos, they landed up in northern Afghanistan and started to support the Northern Alliance, Abdullah, he was a very good spokesperson at that time for the Northern Alliance. I had a very good feeling. I said, now the world's the superpower, the most largest and the most powerful and the rich country are going to come and going to beat the Taliban out of Afghanistan, and we're going to have a beautiful country back again. They're going to be democracy, and the people are going to live. And everybody in Afghanistan, all Afghans, we all had high hopes when the Karzai administration came. We had a very high hopes, the first term of the Karzai administration. But then it went down the drain. It's not that good. And now, when I speak to my friends in Afghanistan, the Muslim brothers of Afghanistan, even they are unhappy, because they say, because when there's a power vacuum when they go out, and all these help and the donation and the reconstruction infrastructure is going to evaporate with them, and now they are talking to Taliban to come in power, and all the women human rights organization, they are unhappy. They don't know if the country going to go back to the Stone Age, which it was in the early 90s, during 92 to 1996, and after that when Taliban came to power. So there is a lot of unnerved. People are really nervous throughout the country at the moment how it's going to go. But to me, as an Afghan, Afghan, I want to see my country develop, to see prosper. I mean, of course, we lost 25 people in this year. But if you read news every day there's a bombing, every day there's a killing, every day there's a kidnapping going in Afghanistan. And poor individual people, normal citizens of the country, they get suffered, which it breaks my heart. The conflict is Afghanistan for 40 years, you know. Since I'm born, all I've seen in Afghanistan in my lifetime, just conflict. But I do hope, I mean, the people who want to leave Afghanistan, especially the Sikh and Hindus, you know, who are really minuscule now, only few are left, you know, and they just want to go out. They want to go out, and I think we, the diaspora, the Sikh diaspora and abroad, need to help them with their choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, when the news first came out, there was a lot of kind of questionable reporting. There was one major thing that we've noticed and we reported on as well, was a huge lack of coverage here in the UK, and in comparison to other kind of attacks that happened all across the world, you know, wasn't getting as much coverage as some other attacks globally. But then there was also some questionable reporting in terms of the number of attackers. There were some reports were saying there was a lone gunman, but the eyewitness reports weren't corroborating that. Some stories were the attackers dressed as police officers, and some were talking about suicide bombing. And what do you think? So what do you think is causing all this kind of confusion?
Well, I can clear that up. There's no problem, because I've been talking to members of my community in Afghanistan on a daily basis. You know, I've been in touch with them, and I've spoken to the key witnesses as well, who were present at the Gurdwara Sahib early in the morning, right, on the day that attack happened. So my sources, when I spoke to them, and what they said to me, that there were approximately 4 attackers, and they were told by the neighbors of the Gurdwara, most of them are Afghan Muslims, for example, they were told that 2 people, they went into the Gurdwara and 2 people remain in the vehicle outside, right? And out of those 2 people, one was at the gate and one went inside and he started firing at everybody, right? And he started killing everybody. And what happened is these 3 people, they fled. These 3 people have fled. Right. Only one gunman was who was inside. When the Afghan security forces came, they were in a gun battle with him, and they killed him, this perpetrator. They killed him. So the Interior Ministry, they said only there was one gunman, because they killed him and they had one guy, and that's what they said, the Ministry of Interior. Whereas the eyewitnesses, the rest 3, they fled the scene, and they haven't been caught. They haven't been caught. And about the wearing they were wearing a combative dress, so right, you don't know if it can be military, can be army, can be navy, can be police. We don't know. So they disguise as that, but clearly they were the members of the Islamic State of Khorasan province, because the Khorasan province took the blame of that, and straight away the Taliban denied, and they acknowledged. They said it wasn't us. And the Islamic State of Khorasan, they acknowledged that we were done. So that is the picture. But as per the Interior Ministry, they killed one gunman. So that's what they're saying at the moment. Right. But this is not important, you know. This is not important how many gunmen there were. A heinous crime has happened. Women, children, everybody died, and so that is the main thing, in my opinion. And we, as I said, the community in diaspora should help these people if they want to leave the country. Of course, there will be some people, I don't know, for any other reason, they probably want to stay, but that's their choice, you know. If they want to stay for the love of the country or any other interest, it's up to everybody have their own free will. That's fine.
Of course, there's some Gurdwaras in Afghanistan that have been there for hundreds of years, and there's a long history of Sikh involvement in Afghanistan. We've got a question come through on through the questions, which is we reported on the arrest of the leader of Islamic State in Afghanistan. It was a few days after, just less than a week after the attack. and along with him, I think there was 19 other fighters who were also arrested. What has this done for the safety of the Sikh community and Sikh and Hindu community in Afghanistan?
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh.
Well, um, if you look at, as I said, if you read news every day, there have been so many heinous crimes happen against our community. Not our community. When I said our community, Afghans in general, so all Afghans. And the security forces, with so little resources, they do their best, and they catch these perpetrators. These perpetrators end up in prison for long term, and some of them do get a death penalty, for example. But does it help to? Well, it's ongoing. It's going on for so many years. So many years. So one has been captured and put in prison. There'll be another terrorist going to be come up to replace him.
Right. Okay, well, a lot of the questions that are coming in now are on a similar kind of theme, which is, we touched upon it slightly at the beginning, but what can the diaspora do? What can we, who are living abroad, Sikhs living outside of Afghanistan, what can we do to help, to support the families who are looking to repatriate?
Well, the people who want to go out, we need to help them. We need to support them, who want to resettle in different countries, in the secure countries. And in that, we need to lobby our Gurdwara, we need to lobby our Sikh institutions across the globe, right? And find a way to get them to safety. Now, the reason I keep coming back to the option of Canada, for example, is simply because in the last 40 years, the Sikh and Hindu community of Afghanistan who have fled Afghanistan, the violence, have come out of the country on their own. On their own.
Right.
Manmeet Singh Bhullar Foundation and the WSO in Canada, that's the only organization who managed to get somebody from Afghanistan to India, and from there to Canada. Of course, the numbers are very small if you look at the population of the country. So if I'm not wrong, 15 families, about 60 people were managed to go to Canada. You can see the proper information on their website. You can find out exactly the whole numbers. And there are some people still awaiting process their visa application, everything processed in India at the moment to go to Canada. I think we should all help any organization which can help them to get settled in a free society. I think that's what we should do. Now, I was in a webinar with, as you have noticed, with the Manmeet Singh Bhullar Foundation, organized by WSO in the weekend. They said the Sangat in Canada, they are really keen. They really want to help us. All the Sangat in Canada, they really want to help us. All the Gurdwara, they really want to help us. And they have this private sponsorship program. So people, the Sikh, many of the Sikh, they can join up. Even you can be like 3 or up to 5 families can join up and sponsor one family to get to Canada. And what they've been asking all the Canadian nationals, Sikh nationals, or could be any other national, to write email to their MPs. So just write email to the MPs asking them to help get these families moved to Canada. And but he said there's a will in the community there, but all they want is a red light or from the Canadian government. So I think we, as the Sikh diaspora around the world, can maybe somehow also email the Sikh members of parliament in Canada. There are so many Sikh MP and a very influential and very powerful MPs in Canada. If we maybe just maybe speak to them or call them up or email them, and ask them to help. That's what we can do. And whereas for rest of the country in UK and Europe, we can engage with our local government, with our local MPs and the local ministry of home ministry, which is the home office in the UK, which we have in all these countries, to to make it easier for people who coming on their own to these countries when they ask for asylum, they don't make it difficult for them. No. Now, I received a call from somebody in Sweden a week ago, and he's a Sikh family in Sweden. He said they've been living in Sweden for a couple of years, but their visa has been rejected. The Sweden government said, "Oh, there's a security in Afghanistan. You can go back to Afghanistan." But we know there's no security in Afghanistan. We had this members of Sikh community were killed in 2018. We had the recent attack, but their asylum application has been rejected, and they want to deport them back to Afghanistan, which is, in my opinion, totally unacceptable. So we, the diaspora, no matter which country we live in, we can lobby our governments, we can lobby our MPs, and to get the guidance to be changed in our country. So if a family who, with their own way, make their way through Europe, for example, or to Australia or New Zealand or whatever, at least they get accepted, And I know, like as I mentioned about this gentleman in Sweden, and there are also many cases in Austria, in Belgium, in Netherlands, in Germany, in France, in Scandinavia, people who they've been there, but their case has been rejected, and they're staying there without visa for years and years, And if that process can be sped up, it would be fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the Afghan Sikh community really needs the support of the diaspora Sikh community to kind of write to the governments and write to the existing institutions and kind of lobby to kind of get our brothers from Afghanistan and sisters in Afghanistan to settle. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I want you guys to help us with.
Well, so in terms of donations, there's been a few kind of questions that were raised about donations, and one thing I did want to mention, we spoke in the past about how difficult it is in Afghanistan at the moment, and there's a lot of kidnappings that happen as well. And so one thing that I didn't even myself realize is that by kind of openly talking about any kind of donations that go there puts people at risk. So in that sense, the kind of transparency we usually might expect, we ought not to expect that kind of transparency in terms of donations for this cause. Did you want to kind of elaborate?
Yeah, for the moment, let them come out of safety, maybe to a second country, perhaps in Pakistan or perhaps in India, wherever the country wishes to go to, and there and then we can, let's say, if the community decides and goes to India, for example, for Delhi. And then we have a beautiful, very many organizations, Sikh organization, for example, in India, and then we can ask these organizations to help them with the relief work when they get to a secure and safe location, and then maybe they can intervene and help out in the interim until these people perhaps manage to get to resettled in countries such as Canada, maybe with the funding of with the education of the kids, to go to a normal school to receive education, for example, and people don't have any houses, of course, so maybe help with rental income, for example, in at least minimum in a short term. Maybe if you're looking maybe at least a year, 2 or 3, up to 3 years, perhaps, and then we should not sit up, and we should keep helping and supporting any international organizations who wants to help these people resettled in the West, for example, and we should keep the pressure on, in my opinion.
That's great. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about coordinated efforts, and I fully support those ideas. But in terms of there being any kind of real leadership that exists in the worldwide Sikh community that we can kind of call on to actually do this kind of work for us, there doesn't seem to be one. It seems to be quite localized, or maybe that is something that we ought to work on, especially in light of what's happening in Afghanistan today.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is very unfortunate. Whenever such a tragedy happens, there's a big spike in interest. When the Jalalabad bombing happened 2 years ago, there was so much sympathy and interest from everybody to help the community. But then, to be very honest, nothing really happened, nothing really happened. all those families, they were not really helped. They were still in Afghanistan. Some went to India, and that's it. And now such a big, as you said in your statement, in our generation, there's the biggest loss of life of Sikhs in your generation, in our generation. It happened now, and now we have interest. But I think in we have to keep the momentum. We have to keep reminding our institutions, our lobby groups, our gurdwara to support these people, and if we don't do it, and I'm afraid there might be another attack happened, and there'll be even more casualties and life going to be lost.
Sure, that's very true. I think in terms of the questions that we had for you today, I think we've pretty much covered it. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we sign off?
Again, I would repeat myself, try to lobby the people who are doing such a wonderful work, and support them. I personally, again, this I'm saying third time, the institutions such as, the WSO and Missing Follower Foundation, they've done a fantastic job. So they have a track record of delivering, So they managed to get people out of Afghanistan to safety, and they're working on it, They really want to work on it. So we need to support these organizations, because there are people who went from Afghanistan, from Helmand province in 2014, and they're currently in India awaiting to be perhaps go to Canada. And then there's a batch of people who went in 2018, and now we have 2020. So every time an attack happens, we took on social media, we show our sympathy, show our concern, but so we have to keep encouraging and helping these organizations. Yeah, if you can help or engage with these organizations and lobby them and get these people to safety, would be fantastic. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So the message is: do not give up. Just keep pushing on with it, and not lose momentum, not lose steam on this.
Ji.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Baji. So that was Pritpal Singh, Afghan Sikh documentary maker and author, joining us from Southall today. And thank you to the Sangat for watching today. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.